Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. I hope you're all having a fantastic day. The studio lights beamed brightly overhead, but something in the air felt heavier than usual, as if the entire room could sense a storm quietly passing through. When the show returned from its commercial break, the viewers, the audience, and even the crew members picked up on it instantly. Something was off. Kelly Ripa, normally glowing, buoyant, and effortlessly charming, sat still at her desk. Her hands were clasped tightly together, fingers intertwined like she was holding onto them for dear life. Her eyes, usually sparkling with energy, were softer than usual, clouded by a swirl of emotions she was clearly fighting hard to contain. The audience leaned in. They knew Kelly. They knew her cadence, her rhythms, her expressive face. And this wasn't her usual calm. This was the look of someone holding a piece of news too heavy to keep inside, but too painful to say out loud. Kelly took a long, shaky breath. She opened her mouth to speak, but paused, pressing her lips together in a moment of emotional triage. She wasn't ready. Not yet. Behind her familiar, practiced smile was a woman who had just been shaken to her core. Because moments earlier, just before she walked on stage, Kelly received a message that stopped her heart. Her husband, Mark Castillo, had been rushed to the ICU. It happened so fast that Kelly didn't even have time to process it. He had been a little off for days, brushing away the fatigue and discomfort the way strong, stubborn people often do. But that morning, something had changed. Something serious, something frightening. He collapsed. The producers urged Kelly to skip the show, to go to the hospital immediately. But right before she made that decision, her phone lit up. It was a message from Mark. A message that would change the tone of her entire day, maybe even her life. Now, sitting under the blinding studio lights, Kelly tried to speak past the lump in her throat. Her co-host, Jordan Miles, rested a gentle hand on her arm, his face etched with concern. The audience fell silent, collectively holding their breath, waiting. Kelly finally managed to speak, her voice barely above a whisper. "Before we get started, I received a message from Mark." The room tilted. Even the cameras felt like they slowed down, leaning in. Kelly set her hands on the desk, grounding herself as her eyes glistened. "He wanted me to know that he's thinking about the kids and that he's proud of them." Her voice cracked softly. "And he asked that no matter what happens today, that I smile." A hush fell across the studio. Deep, respectful, almost holy. Kelly blinked rapidly, fighting tears. She looked into the camera with the raw vulnerability of a woman suspended between fear and strength. He said, "I want to hear your laughter, Kel. It always makes everything better." Her attempt at a smile quivered at the edges. This wasn't television Kelly. This was Kelly the wife, Kelly the mother, Kelly the human being whose heart was somewhere else entirely. What struck viewers most was how simple the message was. Not dramatic, not poetic, just pure, from a man who loved her fiercely. From a hospital bed surrounded by machines, uncertainty, and the terrifying fragility of life. Kelly swallowed hard, gathering herself before she continued. "Mark started feeling sick earlier this week, but he insisted he was fine. He said quietly, 'This morning, things escalated. He was taken into the ICU for observation. They're still running tests.'" Jordan squeezed her hand, his own eyes glimmering. "You don't have to do this alone," he whispered. Kelly nodded, closing her eyes momentarily as if soaking in strength from the room. The studio audience was silent, many wiping tears from their own cheeks. This was the side of Kelly Ripa people rarely saw, the woman beneath the charisma. The producers gently shifted the tone by airing a short montage, moments between Kelly and Mark from over the years, laughing in the kitchen, teasing each other on set, their inside jokes, their stolen glances. None of it had been planned for that day, but it suddenly felt right, a tender reminder of the love at the center of the moment. When the camera returned to Kelly, she dabbed a tear with the corner of her sleeve, not in defeat, but with quiet resilience. She then shared the part of Mark's message that had shattered her the most. He said, "Tell the kids I love them and tell them I'm okay as long as you're okay." Her voice broke. She didn't hide it. It was the message of a man who adored his family, a man who, in a moment of fear, reached out not for comfort, but to reassure the people he loved. Kelly swallowed hard, gathering herself before she continued. "I wanted to be with him, but he asked me to smile. He asked me to keep going. So I'm here." Throughout the show, Kelly tried her best to meet his request. Her laughs were softer, her smiles thinner, but they were real, each one a promise kept. Every so often, she glanced off stage, hoping, praying for an update. As the show neared its close, Kelly finally allowed herself a moment just for him, and for every viewer who had followed their story for years. "I know he's watching," she said with a tender smile. "Mark always watches, and I want him to know I'm keeping my promise. I'm smiling." She paused, her voice softening into something beautifully raw. "But I can't wait to see him. I can't wait to hold his hand, and I can't wait to tell him that we're all here for him." She ended the show with a message for anyone navigating the turbulent waters of a loved one's illness. "It's terrifying," she admitted, "but love gives you strength you don't realize you have. Sometimes the most powerful thing someone can ask of you is simply to keep going." The audience applauded, warm, gentle, full of support. As the lights dimmed, Kelly stepped off stage, clutching her phone, waiting for a call, for a word, for hope. And somewhere in a quiet hospital room, Mark Castillo rested, thinking of his family and of the woman he loved enough to ask for one simple, beautiful thing: her smile. Because in his words, "As long as you're okay, I'm okay." And as their story hangs tenderly in the air, one question lingers. What happens next? Their next chapter, whatever it holds, has already begun.